So there is no alternative for the competitive coding. We used to do competitive programming, and still students are following the same. And because of the time crunch, what they do is I see like they simply ask the GitHub Copilot, generate this code for me, generate that code for me. You will get the code easily, not an issue. The main understanding is, do you really understand that code which is generated by ID? In my team, we haven't built the custom LLM, but it's in our roadmap. So we are soon planning to build one small LLM in-house for our team.
Hello and welcome to Thapar Summer School podcast series. I'm Lakshita Aggarwal, your host today. I'm really excited to welcome our guest, Mr. Ankit Kumar, a software engineer at Cisco who's pursuing his M.Tech from IISc Bangalore in data science and business analytics. At Cisco, he builds scalable AI-powered applications and focuses on developing intelligent GenAI solutions that solve real-world problems and drive innovation. Here's something special. He's also an alumnus of Thapar class of 2020. That means that he's experienced the same campus life, challenges, and opportunities that most of our audience is going through right now. Hello, sir. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for the introduction and thanks for having me here.
I'm very curious to know what inspired you to enter the field of software engineering and motivated you to pursue higher studies now after gaining industry experience?
Basically, my journey started for the IT industry when I was in Thapar in 2018 to 2022. In second year of masters, I got an opportunity for the internship, and there I joined Philips as a research intern. 3 months I worked on JavaScript part, but JavaScript is not much aligning to my skills. Internally, there is an opportunity in Philips itself in the data science department, and I had a discussion with the HR, and eventually I got there. I work almost 8 to 9 months in AIML and specifically in the deep learning techniques. Philips generally deals with the medical images. I got an opportunity to work with some techniques like neural style transfer, how that techniques we can rely on the cardiac images and the MRI images.
It's clearly your passion that drives your journey and your interest in ML and data science that inspired you. Now I want to ask, what is the scope of GenAI and ML industry today and what lies at the heart of it?
So when it comes to the developer perspective, specifically the GenAI developer perspective, so right now we have different category of models available. Starting from the embedding models, we have LLMs, open source LLMs, closed source LLMs. How we are perceiving from the LLM is we are utilizing the LLM capabilities. We are utilizing, instead of training our own LLM, exhausting our resources, we are trying out the open source and closed source as LLM. How we can leverage the LLM power to translate or make our customer experience better using those LLM. So this is the one side of it. If you go further deeper from the developer perspective, we are in the phase of developing autonomous agent using the LLM, and then fine tuning LLM, building small LLM, building GPT from scratch. That is the other component when it comes to the developer perspective.
Clearly, LLMs are and what's going ahead, along with autonomous agent. That makes it clear. Now, for students who are dreaming of this role, what does a typical day as a software engineer at Cisco actually look like, and what areas do you work on most?
Most of the time, I worked on building agents. Our application has large customer base, so our main intention is how we can leverage the LLM power, either in-house building LLM or the existing compliant LLM. We can provide a better AI capabilities at the customer end, so that while customer using our application, or customer itself feel an expert using the LLM or using the AI use cases that we are building. This is where we are heading now. We are in the phase of building autonomous agent for the customer.
That's a clear picture of how the role and the industry is moving. If you were starting out in ML or GenAI today, what topics, skills, and tools would you put at the very top of your learning list?
So when it comes to the ML, there are so many algorithms. We have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and we have clustering, we have PCAs. We have so many algorithms. Make sure that the algorithm you are going to mention to the interviewer, so I'm expert in this. Make sure you know the end-to-end flow for that algorithm. I do understand at the student phase, you can't be expert in all the algorithms, but you should understand if you are mentioning, I know XGBoost, then you know CatBoost, other variation of XGBoost as. And the best thing is, as soon as you start utilizing these model capability your own, one of the best place I see when it comes to AML stuff is the Kaggle. Just enroll yourself on Kaggle. There are so many problem statements there. We have the solutions as well. Try to run the problem, then understand how things are happening, then do the changes as per your need and understand the flow. This is the approach basically you should follow. One more point I want to highlight from the ML perspective is that when it comes to the GenAI, before entering into the GenAI world, you should understand how the background of GenAI started. What is the transformer? From where this problem is started? You should understand concept concept first, pros and cons. What is the issue with the bag of word? Then word to vec comes. Then what is the issue with the word to vec? Attention mechanism comes. Then what is the issue with the attention mechanism? You need to form a story for each phases.
Sir, if we were to go into completely technical, besides Kaggle, what other skills would you suggest students start right now to go into ML or GenAI?
If we talk about the ML, build a project which is around XGBoost. Pick problem, apply XGBoost, apply variation of XGBoost, understand XGBoost. If you understand XGBoost end to end, from scratch to end, then you are good with them. There is a single algorithm I always focus. XGBoost is the primary algorithm in AI. Whatever project you choose, in this project, if you can leverage the XGBoost capability. Sometimes students might feel we have resource constraint while running the training and all. I don't think so. You have any kind of confidential data. Take dataset from the Kaggle or some other open source dataset. Use the Google Colab Power and build the model, build the project. That is the ML perspective. When it comes to the GenAI side of it, you should understand where we are heading in the GenAI world, from where this is originated. We have transformers, encoder decoder architecture. We have encoder only model. We have decoder only models. We have BART. We have GPT decoder only model. When we are saying it's a decoder only model, what does actually means? If I ask, like, tell me about the encoder, in your mind the block diagram should come, and how encoder block diagrams look like, starting from input and the attention mechanism and the position encoding. In the initial, we don't expect students can build a GPT from scratch, but at least the building block, the transformer architecture. I remember when I started almost 3 years back, when I joined Cisco, I worked networking 2 years. I was trying to switching internally. So there are one job opening for the ML. And the first question to me from the interviewer is, explain me the transformer. And it's 2022 or 2021. Still the baseline is same. You should understand, if you want to play around with IDs, it's fine. But you enter into the GenAI field and you become a GenAI developer, you should understand this pipeline. How we can build our custom embedding model, how we can do comparison between two LLMs, which one is better. You should understand, after seeing that table, the paper is coming, GPT-5 released 2-3 days back, and we have that table, couple of parameters there. You should understand each parameter. At least you should build that institution, how you can differentiate between the models. This is from the GenAI perspective.
That streamlines it for a listener and sets a clear roadmap of what should we do for ML and what should we follow for GenAI. Now, I want to ask you, what are the top soft skills that hiring managers really look for when they're hiring freshers?
One thing that I generally look into the people when interviewing folks is the attitude. To make sure that your attitude should be, because these are the things सामने वाले को पता चल जाता है easily. If I'm taking interview, so I can easily recognize where this interview is heading. You should be flexible to each stack, each technology, because in the initial you don't know which one is better for you. If you are already well versed with your mindset, I have to go into this specific field, that's fine. You can talk to the manager in the interview process itself. I am interested in this project. This kind of project is available in Cisco or any organization where you are doing your interview. So you can ask. But if you're not clear about your interest and you still want to enter into this IT world, then make sure that your attitude should be good. Because if I talk about from my perspective, I started my journey in the networking engineer, as a consulting engineer in Cisco. So your attitude is the first place when it comes to the interview process. And the next thing is how you are communicating, how you are presenting your ideas. The main thing is attitude and the truthness in the response. As I mentioned in the initial, whatever you are mentioning your resume, because before 4 year, 5 year back, we are also started from the same. So we know where generally things happen. Try to make your attitude better in the sense, keep it simple. Don't be rigid to anything, because initially you have to learn so many things. Then you will decide, okay, this is the career path I have to follow. Stay loyal to whatever you are writing in your resume. Rest eventually, the time basis, you will understand.
Is the learner's mindset the right way to go about when presenting your attitude when you're heading for an interview?
Okay, so I will tell you the real scenario. When I am asking something, his face expression, his eye movement, and then suddenly he asking me counter question. It's how that conversation is happening with you and your interview. It's going into argument way or it's going in a normal way. These are the symptoms. If you don't know, then tell straightforward. Don't create a story, because सामने वाला बंदा भी same process से आया है. He knows very well how things are happening. So if you know well, then explain well. If you don't know, then don't create story. It's fine. If we are asking 10 questions, you are able to answer 8 with all the proper examples, all the proper basics, that is clear, then we are done. So don't focus on the quantity. Focus on the quality of the responses.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Also for the example, I think that clears it a lot for a lot of people. Next, I want to ask is that how should students decide which projects to build for their resumes that the interviewers appreciate?
If I talk about the capstone project or the normal project from the GenAI perspective, one project could be like, so nowadays we have online classes, we have Zoom meeting, we have Teams meeting and all. After recording 2 hour, 3 hour lecture, no one is gonna rewatch that video. video. We just simply download it on local, and we at that time, okay, we'll watch over the weekend, but that weekend never come. And this is the truth. I am also student for IISc, so I know how things are happening. And so one project could be to get the students ready notes from the lecture. You can apply some kind of LLM techniques from the video that you have. You can, in this project, video is the input. You can leverage the LLM capability because we have nowadays LLM with multimodalities. So you can use that multimodal power of LLM, and you can build our own student assistant. It will give you can just pass prompt, give me the multiple question, follow-up question. This is the one project you can build.
So for the projects, then can we say that the best projects would be to solve a problem or issue that we are facing by ourselves and then put it as a project out there?
See, this is the real problem with the students. You have 10 such type of videos, and then you have sessionals, and then your final exam. No one will spend 3 hours watching those videos. No, you can just use that LLM power here.
Yes, sir.
We can scale this project to the larger audience. You can start with your own project, and then you can scale it to the entire CS team, present it to your professors, your deans. If they will see a potential, then you might get a funding for this project as well. So who is your end consumer? First, build something which is up to you only. If you are a student, don't think I can create a big thing if you don't know the small thing. First, start with the small thing. If you see, okay, this is the problem, I have this problem, I fix it. Other students might have the same problem, and that is the win-win side for both you and for the Thapar.
Thank you for clarifying that for us. Do companies take vibe coding projects seriously?
Vibe coding will not gonna work. Vibe coding is best for the managers, product manager, product owners. Vibe coding is nothing but you are playing with the IDs with the prompting. You don't care about how your backend is generating, how your front end is generating. You only care about your screens, your mock-up screens. Vibe coding is for the managerial level purpose, for the product owners. So let's suppose I want this application screen to look like this, these many features. Add button here, subtract button here, update button here. Then previously what we used to do is our product owner is they are getting something from the customer, they are passing something else to the developer. So mitigate this gap. There we can introduce the vibe coding. They can build quickly using the IDs like Windsurf, Cursor has those capabilities. GitHub Copilot also has. Build those screens, share to the customers. Okay, this is what you are looking for. If customer is okay with that, almost 90% problem is solved. If you are getting the proper input, then same you can pass to your developer, because developer works on the what product manager and product owner is telling to the developer. So this is how basically vibe code fit into this frame into it. But from the student's perspective, if you are building some product, so right now you don't know what could be my project UI. Okay, so you can just simply use the vibe coding, because at that time your focus is to understand how my output screen look like, because your backend is already with your LLMs and agentic base or LangGraph, LangChain base. But you want to present something in front of professor, then you can use. And this is the UI I'm expecting. So in your case, you are the product owner for your product, and your dean professor is your customer. If they are agree, then you can using the backend framework to build that.
So for the initial stages, if you've just learned, if you're good with backend, then if you don't know front end at all, then you can use vibe coding to present your project. But it's not advisable to use it for proper projects which you're presenting from your side, where you're working on front end and backend as well. If you're good at that, then you should do it yourself.
Yes.
Okay, sir. So one thing that I really want to ask you is that what are the key research areas that you see emerging in GenAI, and what should students focus on most?
So once you understand, when it comes to the research, you should understand the basic building blocks of this entire process, so that you will differentiate, okay, so this is the loopholes in this architecture. This is where I can put more effort or my research point. Then discuss with professor. You need a good mentor here when it comes to LLM research. So he or she can guide you in a better way. This is the area of improvement. Coming area, I think, is the robotics when it comes to research. Leveraging the GenAI power in the robotics, that I think can be a good area for research. But definitely nowadays research is the highest paying area as per my understanding, because every day different architecture is coming. Initially we have only 1-2 model, but nowadays if you see, we have so many models. Every day models are coming, open source, in-house. So we have models. The main area I see nowadays is the robotics. Second is diffusion part of modeling. So there is one website, inceptionlabs.ai. So basically the main purpose of the LLMs is to predict the next token, but the inceptionlabs.ai is going beyond that. So understand, there is a nano GPT from Henry Garapati. There is a Kimi K2 models. If you are in flight, you don't have internet connectivity, you want to use LLM. So how you can build LLM which can run in your own mobile. These are the open areas basically, but for that you should have the strong background of LLMs, good mentorship, and then can leverage the capabilities of GenAI.
So are these research projects, if a student has worked on them during their graduate years or BTech years, now will they help them when they're actually sitting for interviews?
See, the project really create impact when it comes to interview. As I mentioned, we don't have the bigger expectation from the students. What we expect is building block should be clear. Whatever students are presenting, that should be his or her own work.
I think that would make project selection very easy for students to understand now. And it's a lot of practical insight. So, for the capstone projects that are coming up, during the development of a new software, what phase of the product development cycle do you spend most time on and why?
We spend initial maximum time, not the entire time, but initial maximum time to make sure that we define the problem statement clearly. We should clear with the tools and techniques we are going to use while building this project. We should take care of the access as well. Let's suppose if we need open source model, open source GPT access. So we have or not. Don't want like initially we start building something and later on we go, no, we don't have this access we needed at this moment and we don't have. So the entire span that we have crossed, that is completely missed. So main thing is problem statement. What is the real business value and who is the end user for this application? So we have to think from both the perspective. From the developer perspective, what are the components needed? And when everything is in place and built successfully, then from the user perspective, who is my audience? Who is the consumer for this? How they expect this to be launched? So that kind of scenario. This is basically we spend maximum time. So main thing is when everything is built, then when it comes to LLM is the evaluation phase. Because doing evaluation for the ML, for the deep learning task is easy. We have standard metrics. But when it comes to the LLM, we have to be more precocious about the evaluation. Development, I don't think so take much time nowadays. The first area, problem statement, alignment with the business and the alignment with the end goal, end user perspective, then development and then the evaluation. So these are the three primary components and time consuming is two, the initial, the last evaluation phase.
You've explained that really well. From the student's perspective, with so many IDE tools available in the market like GitHub Copilot, Windsurf, and Cursor, do you recommend college students should use them? And if they do, how should they be using them?
Yes, students should utilize those tools, but only for the repetitive tasks. For the competitive coding, don't rely on these tools. Your end goal should be introduce or enhance your debugging skill. So run your code in a debugging mode. Use step or step into these kind of functionalities. Put breakpoint where your code is breaking. How you generally trace our code is using the printf statement. Every time students skip these skills, but going forward, students should make sure that they understand the debugging skills because that is the two important skill nowadays. Each ID has these kind of capabilities. Understand the debugging capabilities, where your code is breaking, how your input is parsing, which state your input is not coming as expected. But main thing is, first place, don't rely on these IDs. If you are facing any issue while doing coding, try to debug it. Debugging skill will make you understand problem in more better way. So don't skip it. This is a necessary skill. Nowadays, what's happening is people are accepting the code which is generated by ID. But if somewhere issue is happening, then they don't have the debugging skill and they are stuck completely. If you are starting your career now and you are thinking a bigger picture in IT industries, debugging also important skill. Introduce that. The last thing is, let's suppose ID is fixed your problem. Then again go back to your problem, understand where you are lagging. At the end, instead of doing 1,000 problem using the ID's help, do 100 problem. But make sure that you understand each and everything with those 100 problems. Data structure used in that flow of each. Focus on qualitative work instead of quantitative.
I understand the importance of debugging skills. What do you say is the best approach of developing these debugging skills that are very essential now?
Start from the lower problem and easily eventually you will see you can understand the 1,000 line of code or you can debug the 1,000 line of code easily. Don't directly jump into the 200 line of code and start debugging. No. Yeah, I hope this.
Clarifying that part. It's very clear where we should be using debugging and how we should be correctly using the IDs that are available to us. Another thing I want to ask is that how do LangGraph and LangChain help in your work compared to traditional ML pipelines?
There are two different aspects. Traditional ML, we have scikit-learn, libraries, well-versed package and all. LangChain, Langsmith are designed specifically to leverage the LLM into the real world scenario. Langsmith and LangChain, these are the tools which help us to build the agents using LLMs. Yeah, Langsmith we use generally for the monitoring purpose. But ML is totally different from LangChain, Langsmith. There are two different paths. LangChain, Langsmith, these are going in a different direction. Those are mainly for the building application, building agents, which is powered by LLM. This ML side is totally different from LangChain and Langsmith. This LangChain, LangGraph, these are are the two frameworks which help us to leverage the GenAI capabilities, or we can build product using these two frameworks. LangSmith is the third framework which basically help us to evaluate. So LangSmith has a couple of things we can achieve using LangSmith. One is we can do monitoring of our traces. Traces is nothing but the query which we are receiving on the AI assistant front, how that tracing is happening, how that flow is happening in the backend. So that we can trace in the LangSmith. Second is evaluation. We can generate our ground truth. We can put it on the LangSmith, and there we can see we have a couple of metrics: correctness, harmfulness. These kind of metrics we defined on the LangSmith. So this LangChain, LangGraph, LangSmith is totally for the LLM, and ML is a totally different side of it.
So let's bring AI into the picture. How is AI impacting your role as a software engineer, and what automations has it brought to your role?
If any repetitive task is there, suppose we need to prepare some kind of Excel sheet, some kind of data we have to put, some kind of presentation we have to make. So that kind of task, I daily use a GitHub Copilot. But when it comes to the building agents, building supervisor, building autonomous agent, I can't rely on the ITs. So when it comes to a real work which has business value, end user is my actual customer, there I can't take this. I can't rely on ID. If even ID is suggesting something, I completely go through the entire prompt. I will make sure that nothing will create nonsense at the end, nothing will break when it comes to the deployment end and when it comes to the customer end, because I know my customer better. So there I still maintain that thin line.
That is actually a very stellar approach. It automates the redundancy while making sure where it truly matters, we are using our own thinking abilities. And I think that's the best way we can actually use AI in our work.
Yeah.
Next, I want to ask, what new roles and specializations do you think that the companies will hire for in the next 3 to 5 years?
I can't comment exactly what type of role, whatever role going to open, you should know how to do prompting. Second thing is you should understand the tool's capability. Maybe the tool is providing 10 capabilities and all of them is not useful in your case. But I see when it comes to coding, Cloud Sonnet model is performing well. When it comes to the vibe coding, GPT model is performing well. So we should understand which role we are right now and which model is best for fit in our use case. So adaptability of these kind of tools is the one thing. Second thing is prompting. When it comes to your original question, the specific role, whatever role we are heading towards, the prompting is the must.
So are prompt engineers more valuable today than, let's say, software engineers or traditional engineers?
It's not like this dedicated role for the prompt engineer. No, it's like a tight situation. You are using the LLM powered IDs, then you should know the prompt. You must learn prompting later or sooner. But before that, the prerequisite is if you want to become a coder, you should know how to code. But if you only know prompting, going forward, no, it will not gonna work. When it comes to the product owner, product management side, their prompting is more helpful. Prompting is the upper layer. If you have that, you can see the clear difference between two developers.
So let prompting be the assist, but not the development that we are doing.
Yeah, I can tell you the real scenario. So why prompting is helpful, but only the prompting can't be a game changer. In the prompt, we defined our few short learning example, one short learning, two short learning, so that our LLM will understand better while giving me a response. This is what I am expecting. Nowadays, models are more intelligent. They don't need those few short learnings. Initially, if you are feeding 10 lines of prompt, today that 5 line of prompt is enough. Tomorrow, maybe 2 line it will reduce to. This is a field which is evolving. And at certain point, after some time, we even no need to specify the prompt. We just need to specify the role. Okay, you are a customer support assistant. That's it. It will take care of everything. So that's what I'm saying. Like it's an evolving field, and but it's not like as you mentioned, it can help you to understand the things better, but you can learn and survive.
This was a very fascinating look into the future, prompting and where is it beneficial and where not. So before we wrap up, if you could go back to the moment you graduated and were just starting out your career, then what advice would you leave your younger self with?
The one advice I would say is if I am clear with my goal, this field I have to opt, I should start creating project in that domain where that industry is heading towards. This kind of picture should clear in my mind. If you are not clear which way you want to go in IT industry, but which field you want to opt, then I must say start with the basics. Start with your language. Understand the flow. C language is still the supreme to understand the flow. Understand CPP, because nowadays also I see some of the models are performing well while inferring. Those running behavior is depend upon CPP, not Python. The basic is still the same.
So thank you so much, sir, for being here today and presenting us with this knowledge, insights, and practical advice. After this, a lot of students are able to understand where GenAI works and where ML comes and how do they differ and where should we opt for what. Also, the project knowledge that you presented, I think that's the highlight of today's podcast.